Angela Passalacqua, and I'm the artist featured this month at Blackfish Gallery. The title of the show is Things Fall Apart, Things Endure, and it's kind of an amalgamation of two poems, one by Pablo Neruda, El Partenon, the Second Coming by Yeats. These two paintings here, they're both based on Renaissance masters and coloration as well. I was looking at Sienese painters in particular, their coloration, their portrayal of the human figure, especially small children and infants, and just the humanism represented in their work, and also the small scale. I do primarily panel paintings, so the scale isn't large. I mean, the scale of my largest works is roughly 24 by 30. I use a rabbit skin glue gesso, which gives a really rich patina to the surface. And there's probably 3 or 4 glazes on top of the paintings that give it an enhanced, richness, I think. The infants in both of these are based on paintings by the Lorenzetti brothers of Siena. And it's my own interpretation of them. I do have a calligraphic background, and I wanted to bring that back. There's a big B there, and there's also a very tiny little B here, so it's kind of a play on words. Skin to B, this one is guided by the line. You can see the line here and the big B here. And they're, I think of them as a pair, or they keep each other company. I didn't want them to get lonely, so I felt I needed to have 2 of them. The landscape is, they're both entitled Epiphanies, Epiphanies 1 and Epiphanies 2. They're based on actually buildings in Portland that went through a period of neglect, like the Armory did, and now is a thriving theater. Both of these pieces are based on the play by Shakespeare, The Twelfth Night. And there's a shipwreck involved. This one features Omsi, also a building that has gone through a rejuvenation period. And this piece in particular was exhibited at the Armory in January as part of their celebration of the Twelfth Night. And this is its partner, compared the companion piece. And the play involves a lot of going back and forth across the river, identity issues, mistaken identities, and everything resolves happily at the end. People do come together, and mistaken identities are all sorted out, and there is a regeneration of ideas and happiness at the end. But I wanted to bring the city into it as well, my own city, my own interpretation of buildings going through a decline and then being appreciated once again, and the human energy that goes into making that happen and possible. Okay. This is the piece that the title of the show is based on. Things fall apart, things endure. Here's the Parthenon underneath the sea, kind of in decline, and then here things are in the act of falling apart. But we've also got windmills, and we've also got this landscape that is, for me, represents signs of hopefulness. There are only 2 paintings that really relate to the Yeats poem, which is a very bleak poem. This is entitled Turning and Turning, and it actually represents the goddess Nemesis. That's where the word came from. The monkey here is holding scales because she does balance, good deeds against bad, and basically the original meaning had to do with accountability. Glowing moon, and I've done a series of paintings featuring horses in the past, and they generally all have a romantic or mystical feel to them, and this is no exception. This is the first one of them that actually has a couple in them. The romantic aspect of it is enhanced, but I think it still has some mystery in it. There's a suitcase here, so...
A lot of symbolism.
Yes, a lot of symbolism. They're involved in a journey. The male figure has his hat tossed up in the air, and they're toasting one another. So I hope one gets a sense that it's a positive journey. These smaller paintings are all individual portraits. I tend to work on a larger painting that are like kind of idea factories. and these characters kind of populate them. So I have this, the fire goes out, which is a Japanese fireman that has occurred in other of my paintings as a watch figure. The sheep kind of is about thought. You know, we dream, we count sheep when we try to get to sleep, but it basically is, for me, it's about thought. This one is a veiled figure looking out into the painting, and to me, the soul would come back, I think, relates to that. And here's the monkey, and the monkey is always, represents for me as a critic. The monkey is always watching and analyzing what we do and making some kind of commentary on us.
I thought that all they do is monkey business.
They do, as do we. As do we. And we're very closely related. We're both mammals, and we need to remember that. I have a lot of bee paintings in this show, and in the Neruda poem he talks about the bees, the idea of the bees sustaining the Parthenon during its decline. And they build these ideal structures that have 6 sides. So the bee imagery is where that comes from, and I just do a lot of different images of bees, and I always build the 6-sided geometric figure that they build their nests on. People keep asking me if they're encaustic, and they're not. But they do have a lot of different layers, and they have drawings, and some of them have transfer prints involved in them, so it's a lot of different media. They're primarily oil, but they do have that transfer print that's underneath. And some of them have 4 or 5 coats of glaze on them.
And I see some little holes. Is that from the...
That's from the gesso. You know, I can make the gesso as smooth as I want. Sometimes I don't want it to be all smooth like glass. I really want it to have some imperfections. I did a series of about 150 drawings, and then I took photographs of those drawings. And I took, you know, bits and pieces from the drawings and did a composition using Photoshop. And once I had the composition the way I wanted it, then I made a print, transferred that print to this rabbit skin gesso, and then once it was transferred, then I went back in and I altered the print some more by, you know, painting on top of it and either enhancing or detracting or taking things away or adding things to the composition.
You use Photoshop in most of your paintings here?
No, I really don't. It's just this series right here is the Photoshop.
This last 4 here.
Right. Well, this piece obviously is very blue, and it's based again on a drawing. This one has, you know, overlapping, you know, the six-sided cell, which a hive is based. It's layer upon layer upon layer, and that's where that cell imagery comes from. And here's the 6-sided.
This is the most abstract of your paintings.
It is the most abstract of them. I think it was a natural progression, going from the more realistic to the abstraction.
So this is one of your more later pieces?
This is the last one I finished,
really?
yeah.
Wow.
So it was kind of going from far away, looking at a more realistic viewpoint, to getting closer and closer and closer. This is the original bee painting that I did, and it's very dark in its coloration. It looks like a bee that, as someone told me, looks like one that this could actually sting you, and the others look like they're more friendly honeybees. It does have a darkness to it, and a power that maybe the others don't.
Yeah, I noticed that all your other paintings are very lighter in color.
They are lighter in color, and I think...
Did you do that on purpose, or...?
You know, I didn't. I think I did that naturally. The poem, The Second Coming, is a really bleak poem. And the one painting, the one that deals with it specifically, is the one that's very rosy and very... if I had to talk about its coloration, I would say it's a very rosy, optimistic coloration to it. And that was totally unconscious on my part, but I think my subconscious just didn't want to go there. I didn't want to deal with it. So it's a marvelous thing about painting. I didn't deal with it. I dealt with it in an entirely different way. A real different, almost the opposite reaction.